Welcome everyone. Today we have with us Bill Miller, SVP and CIO NetApp. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway, Bill, it's been a crazy 1 year. So I thought I'll talk to you something about it from the technology point of view. So like my first question is, if you look at, before COVID came, I mean, the one aspect is the pandemic, the cases will go up and down. That's a different story. But what I'm concerned is with the technology trends. So like if you see after COVID happened, certain technology trends took place. We had a tech acceleration and certain trends have become cemented, and maybe in a few things we are going back to the old normal. So if you can just talk of the general technology trends, what has become the new normal and what we may return to, so we can start with that.
Sure, Sunil. That's a fantastic way to get started. Great questions, really. One thing we know is that cloud adoption is accelerating. I mean, it's here to stay. Cloud's not going anywhere. If you look at some of the data that I've recently seen, it says cloud revenues are expected to grow from around 370 billion US dollars in 2020 to around $830 billion by 2025. I mean, that's a compounded growth rate of over 17%. So I think we're going to see cloud continue to explode. It's been accelerated because of the pandemic, because people need to have those utilities in the cloud when they can't get to their data centers, when they can't get to their infrastructure, when they can't put hands on their gear easily. So I think that's going to continue. Another thing that's clearly going to continue with the explosive data growth, Sunil, is artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, right? It's the numbers there for the growth in contributions to the economy are huge. Some people say over $15 trillion in the next decade alone. And I think that's probably not unreasonable. And I think we're going to continue to see a focus on security. We've seen a lot of attacks during the pandemic with resources dispersed. We've seen a lot of ransomware, some successful ransomware attacks of major industry and mission-driven organizations. So we'll continue to see data security being highly prized. I think in terms of the old normal, new normal, I really do believe in this hybrid model that we're going to see. I think it's inevitable. As we've all been locked away for the last year, a lot of us yearn for collaborative projects where we can all congregate to do our best work, right? We believe that for innovating, you kind of need to be in a common workspace. You need to share a whiteboard, and it's harder to do in 2 dimensions than 3 dimensions. So I think as we get into more and more complex projects, we'll see the workforce need to congregate to do that again. I think we're going to see interesting customer events. At NetApp, we host a lot of customers in our facilities each year. The last year has all been virtual, but I think we'll get back to a combined mode where we have some people visiting in person, and yet we can reach out through our video conferences to people that may only have an hour, a half hour to participate in these learning events. And it'll be a mixed mode model of activity between customers and suppliers. And I think that's probably healthy from a time utilization. And then the last thing, Sunil, that's very practical and on all of our minds in heavy urban areas is the daily commute. I think we've come to appreciate not sitting in traffic in whatever urban center we live in. And what we've realized is the time we sit in traffic is not always the most productive time. So I think we'll get back to a mode where we come into the office certain days where we want to congregate, and other days we're left to focus without all those distractions on the work at hand. And I think that'll be a very productive model to work in. And that probably indicates smaller campus footprints for most companies long term. We won't need as much office space and as much congregating space. So I think it's going to be mixed mode. I think it's going to be a hybrid model, but I think it'll be a good era and a good new era.
Okay. So like sounds like real exciting changes are happening in our times. So out of all that, maybe I'll pick a couple of one. One is cloud, the cloudification of work. So I
That's
think
right.
cloud is here to stay. Everyone is telling me like nobody's on the fence anymore. Before they used to dip their toe and check. Now I think everyone has taken the plunge into cloud. But still, when it comes for newcomers and for the new entrants, they're still like curious about what are the benefits of migrating to the cloud. So I mean, what is it for the SMBs, what is in there for the SMBs, what is in there for the large enterprises? If you could expand on that.
Happy to, Sunil. Yeah, and there is, I believe there are some differences between the large, let's say, global enterprises and the smaller, medium-sized businesses. So that's a great question. Let's unpack that a little bit. First of all, I mean, I think we're going to, for a long time, have a hybrid multi-cloud strategy. And what I mean by that is some on-prem, some capabilities in the cloud, particularly for established businesses. In multi-cloud, meaning more than one major cloud that companies like NetApp and our peers will take advantage of. And in order to do that, you're going to need a data fabric, an ability to move, securely move and migrate data between different locations, taking on-prem data to the cloud and cloud data on-prem periodically. I think that'll be very important. Data, we like to say at NetApp, data has mass. It doesn't move easily through pipes, and you have to be very thoughtful about how your data movers, how your utilities are able to migrate that data. And again, with an emphasis on security and secure migration of the data. But let's get to the question of big companies versus SMBs. So, you know, almost all startups today, Sunil, are operating in the cloud, right? If you have a startup, you probably have a couple of very bright people, many cases very young, bright people with a couple of laptops and a creative idea. And what they want to do is build a business around software. Very easy to spin that business up in the cloud today with the utilities. Is basically a couple of clicks and you set your business up virtually online and can start building from there. And in that cloud, you can reach many, many customers because it's a very easy environment to scale up in today. So we're seeing a lot of that. It's really a speed to capability issue, right? If I'm a small business owner, if I'm an innovator, I want to quickly get that product and that idea and that capability out to a viewership, to an audience. So I think that speed to capability plays a big role in that. I don't want to spend my time growing infrastructure and putting capital and putting my money into that infrastructure. I want to put it into the ideation. Additionally, we talked about security earlier. Security kind of comes out of the box with a lot of these cloud-based utilities, particularly in hyperscalers. And by hyperscalers, I mean companies like Microsoft Azure, AWS at Amazon, or Google Cloud Platform. You've got a lot of capabilities built into those services. So I kind of have a business in a box that I can start. So it really is about that speed to value. And what you're getting is an entire marketplace around these hyperscalers, lots of software opportunities, lots of utilities that I can use, even things like code checking utilities if I'm a software developer. So it allows me to advance my business very quickly without setting that all up in my own facility. Now, keep in mind, if you talk about migration to cloud, large global companies, Sunil, are probably way more prepared to make that journey. They've got storage engineers, they've got compute specialists, they have architects, they got cloud architects, they have security teams and security professionals. So larger companies are probably outfitted, they're probably aligned with talent to make that migration to cloud. But the SMBs have virtually no legacy. They don't have to worry about that migration. So they can dive in quickly and start in the cloud. The phrase born in the cloud really does reflect how SMBs operate and how they will grow, and they're going to be able to scale. So it's a wonderful opportunity for young companies to get started quickly, but it's also a great opportunity for larger companies to move workloads into a more nimble and more agile cloud. So I think you'll see it on both fronts. As you suggested, it's here to stay.
Yeah. So like again, expanding some of your concepts, like we will be less stuck in traffic. We'll have smaller office footprints. That's great for us. Then you're talking for speed to value. That's great for the company. Then even about the data mass fabric, I think that mass fabric is going to increase exponentially. So that's really all good for us. But I think one person who's going to be concerned, whose plate is being piled up, is the CIO, because the CIO is seeing a great change due to all of these things. So, I mean, how are they handling it? It's not just cloud acceleration, it's cybersecurity threats, and even there are challenges which we cannot even think of. So maybe if you could talk something about the CIO's role and challenges.
Well, that's a great point. And being a CIO today and having been a CIO at several companies, I certainly understand your point. I would say, however, the role of the CIO, Sunil, has always been changing, right? With new business trends and new business needs. This is kind of the latest movement. It's substantial and it is here to stay, but it's the latest. If we go back till, let's say, a year ago in the winter, before March, before the pandemic really started, we were heavily in the middle of a digital transformation and a transformation around data. You probably remember some of the articles, data is the new oil, right, of the economy. So we were already heavily invested in data, leverage of data and digital transformation. So I think, this concept of continuous change is endemic to the psychology that most CIOs bravely go forward with, right? If anything, it's an exciting new time, an exciting new set of opportunities. So from a CIO's perspective, cloud really offers resiliency, flexibility, and agility for the business, right? Think about this pandemic, the availability of resources in the cloud when we were all in a heavily lockdown mode. So I think we've come to appreciate as CIOs the power of the cloud, the reach, the resources that are there for our businesses. We saw it in storage, point and click storage that we've been able to build, right? You don't have to rack gear out in a data center. You go out and you set up your operation in software. What a wonderful capability during something like a pandemic. And the other thing, think about the other thing, Sunil, about cloud-based models. They're really subscription models. So you really only pay for what you use as you consume it. So it gives you some more control over your spend and over your cost management. It allows you to modulate your spend, which is very important for cost sensitive businesses, and CIOs are generally very cost sensitive. So, a couple things I would say, advice to CIOs trying to jump into the cloud: make sure you get the necessary skills on your team. You're probably going to need some cloud architects. You're going to need some people that are familiar with that cloud journey, maybe Kubernetes, containers, how to take advantage of those cloud-based constructs. So skilling up is number one, and that is a challenge to skill up. The second piece of advice is jump into the pool. Okay. Don't be afraid to get started. Find some early projects where you can get some early wins and make those initial investments to get going. So, I kind of look at this as a CIO, and I know a lot of my peers look at it this way. We kind of think opportunities more than we think challenges. Okay. So yes, these things are all challenges, but they're also opportunities to leverage new technologies, new techniques, new skill sets to advance the business and to advance the business faster. So to me, these are exciting times. They're exciting times again. And I think we can take advantage of this to drive the business. I think the biggest risk in kind of closing this out, Sunil, the biggest risk is getting left behind if you don't embrace cloud. I think that's the real risk to CIOs. If you don't take advantage of these opportunities, that you may be left behind while your peers take advantage of these new trends. I mean, at NetApp, we've been doing this for years. We do it for our customers. We enable our customers through these cloud utilities and data fabric options, but we're also running it in our NetApp on NetApp utility. So my operation runs fully cloud enabled, and we've gotten tremendous benefits. So don't see it as a threat, see it as an opportunity.
That's great. And also I agree with you. I mean, the CIO always saw a changing world. IT has always been about change. The only constant is change. But still, I mean, from a journalist, I feel there has been a great amount of acceleration now. Maybe it's not the velocity and change, but it's the acceleration which I am seeing that. So one is about the CIO, the other acceleration explosion is related to data. So, I mean, now we are the numbers. I mean, it's like even in data, you're going from megabytes to, terabytes, petabytes, yottabytes. It's just increasing. Similarly, data itself is traveling through billions of devices and millions of data centers. So, I mean, if you just draw that map, I don't think we can even draw that map. And also we'll have, hundreds of billions of IoT devices soon. So looking at this whole data universe, how has data analytics improved? And what about the role of AI in analyzing this data?
Gosh, that's a huge question, Sunil. We could go on for hours talking about data, but I get your point. And let me hit a couple of key concepts that come to mind for me around data. I think first and foremost, the data is fundamental, right? We all need to figure out how to better store, categorize, and leverage our data assets. Data elements in our business, data needs to be treated as a prized asset because it can give you competitive differentiation and it can give you advantages in your mission. It doesn't matter whether you're a big commercial company, whether you're a bank, or whether you're a healthcare system trying to provide better outcomes for your patients. The data is critical to making good decisions, in making good decisions fast. Two areas where I see, and I felt myself and I see my peers challenged when it comes around what used to be called big data. And you summed it up, Sunil, whether it's terabytes or petabytes, it's all big data today. When you have data streaming in from IoT devices in the field, sensor data, telemetry data, it's an enormous amount of data. I think what you have to do is you have to come down with your data categorization techniques in your company. It goes back to data governance. Do I understand how I'm handling, how I'm treating data? Who has the rights to modify that data? Okay, and what kinds of data am I going to put in certain places? And that really leads to the whole concept of data warehousing and how I make that data truly utilizable to my business. I mean, certain data that comes in, telemetry data, for example, is really just used in an equipment setup, configuration, tuning fashion, and you don't need a lot of data warehousing. But data about your customers, their buying habits, their preferences, their renewals, their refreshes, all of that's very important to have categorized and have absolutely perfect in terms of its accuracy. We talked about data governance, and you talked about IoT and sensor type data. Hey, if you have a bad sensor in the field, Sunil, and it starts sending in bad data, do you put that in your database or do you purge that from your database, right? I mean, it's important because if you start drawing conclusions based upon that bad data, you'll draw the wrong conclusion. So data governance, data warehousing, and figuring out how you're going to leverage that data, very important. But it's really all about AI and machine learning, right? That's where you get the value. It isn't the data itself. And we've all had, from the beginning of time, we've had reports. Reports are a way of assembling the data and displaying the data. We're talking about inferences and understanding with AI and particularly machine learning systems, right? Elegant, sophisticated machine learning algorithms can analyze data automatically, identify trends that are not obvious to the human eye, that are not totally obvious at first inspection. And what they will do is yield better informed decisions going forward. So ML is absolutely essential to provide what I would call insights and drive optimization. I think it's really important to gain insights and to optimize your operations. And I like to think of it as kind of two sides of the same coin. One side is the running of my business. Do I get good data to understand where I am and how I'm making changes and how those changes affect the outcomes? That's the business internal facing side. The external side around data is, can I inform my customer? Can I provide my customer with better advisory services? And if I can do that, I'm adding incremental value to what I offer that customer. I'm not just offering them storage, Sunil, I'm offering them data management solutions and insights into their data movement, and their data storage. That's a much higher order offering to our customers. That's where NetApp is headed. We think that serves to differentiate us in the market. And I think companies that really look at providing insights and optimization are going to be the winners in the market long term, because we'll see continued commoditization in certain plays in the market. But if I can add value to my customer experience through those data-driven insights, I'm going to win in the marketplace. Okay. And that's why we've invested in products like Active IQ that give our customers insights into their data stores, into their data, where it is, how they want to handle it. And we believe that's absolutely essential to winning in the future.
Yeah. So I think we've covered a lot of tech trends. So we've covered a huge gamut of issues, but like you had started talking about one of your NetApp products. So maybe you can talk specifically about how NetApp is handling issues like data storage, data management, and also a bit about your hybrid cloud strategy. which you talked earlier. Maybe you can expand on that.
Yeah, we would love to. Look, we understand it's no longer just about data and data storage, right? We're way past that in industry today. We understand customers are going to continue to have data in many clouds. They're going to have it in their private clouds, fully automated data center capabilities that they build out that need to be highly efficient and run at high capacity levels. So we know our customers are building out, we're helping our customers build out on-prem, really highly automated private clouds. We also see our customers going to SaaS applications, software as a service. They could be companies like SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, Workday. So our customers' data sits in all of those SaaS clouds as well. But they're also building really exciting and digitally transformative workflows in the hyperscaler clouds. They may be building this on an Azure cloud in Microsoft. They may be building it in a Google cloud where they can run machine learning, AI algorithms and tools against their data. So this data is sitting everywhere, and it's going to be more diverse and more dispersed through time. We know that. So we really want to give our customers choice. NetApp is about providing data services wherever our customers have their data in the cloud, and to allow them to connect and monitor and manage that data. And we understand that all of our customers will have comfort levels in migrating either more aggressively or maybe with more caution to these different cloud utilities. So we want to be there to support those customers with services. We want to be able to support them with products and migration techniques. We want to provide them with a data fabric to connect all of that fabric. And we also want to help them monitor and overview that entire portfolio through time to know where their data sits. So we're really about giving them choice, not trying to convince our customers to move forward or slow down. We understand certain government agencies may move faster or slower than a private company would, but we'll give them that choice for their unique spot in their unique time in their company evolution. We look at products like ONTAP. I mean, ONTAP's probably the greatest storage operating system in the history of the world. It's so rich. It has so many features for data management across so many different platforms. But ONTAP was built originally for on-prem solutions in large enterprise data centers. We've built that out as Cloud Volumes ONTAP, CVO, which has most of the incredible features of ONTAP, but built into cloud solutions. So you can take that familiar operating system, Sunil, move it to a hyperscaler in the cloud, use the same oversight and management techniques around your data, things like compression and security that you set. So you can have a familiar and consistent feeling whether your data is on-prem or in the cloud. And that's really our mission, is to provide those customers that we have with that flexibility on their journey.
So I think I'll ask one last question. Is India ready for the new normal? And how is NetApp helping like Indian companies cope with it?
Well, Sunil, I think the answer is, of course, right? India will not only be ready for this, I think India will embrace it. I think we see India embracing this. You know, India is the same as most of the world in the sense that the pandemic drove this digital transformative need, the ability to leverage cloud and cloud utilities. We had so many people in our Bengaluru facilities working from home, right? And yet these people remained absolutely wonderfully productive throughout this disturbance, this COVID-19 phase, and still are today. And by the way, a lot of those people, our employees, didn't work from home. They worked from relative and families' homes far away. So we're able to extend this network out. I think India's done incredibly well, given a lot of the challenges of the population densities and the resurges in some of these pandemic cases. And I think we see it works. I think in some ways, India is even better positioned than much of the rest of the world, because India doesn't have all the legacy in terms of the traditional standard platforms that have been built out in other parts of the world. So I think India in some ways will leapfrog and be able to move very quickly to the cloud and adopt new cloud capabilities. I think India is concerned about workforce productivity, right? Over time, India wage rates will continue to go up in comparison to the rest of the world. And India will want to maintain high productivity, and productivity will come with cloud investments. We already talked about things like traffic congestion, so I think it'll produce better results there. And then one more thing that's really, I think, important to talk about is startups and technology nucleation, right? India's seen a lot of new cloud startups during this pandemic. Okay, we've been supporting cloud startups at NetApp for quite a few years. We have something called the NetApp Accelerator, and it helps deep tech startups kind of operating around data, in the data space, startups that want to leverage and utilize data. And we've funded several of those startups to date, actually 42 of those startups over the last 3 years. And we offer mentorship to new and aspiring entrepreneurs in the business. So we're seeing a lot of companies do that. We're doing that. It's a very exciting time for this incredible innovation that's I think native to India. We as a company are very deeply committed to India. You know, you know Ravi Sunil, who heads up our India facility. We've been here since 2000 in India. Our R&D operations began around 2003, and we're up to over 2,000 people, mainly in our Bengaluru facility, but also in Mumbai and Delhi. So it's been a great journey for us. We have this incredible center of excellence, a building that we christened in 2017. We put 140 million US dollars into a beautiful facility in 2017. We see the innovative capabilities of India as being unlimited, and it is an incredibly important part of our innovation engine and our workforce at NetApp. So we're really excited about the future potential of India, and particularly India in high technology. It's just truly unparalleled, in my opinion.
So I think that's a good place to end the interview on India's positivity. Let's hope we really can leapfrog into the cloud world. And it was great talking to you. And we can go on for hours, as you mentioned. But
That's
like
right.
as they say, all good things have to come to an end. So thank you
Yeah.
for your time. It was great talking to you.
Hey, thank you for the invitation. Really enjoyed being part of your program today, and best wishes through the rest of the pandemic.
Thank you.